Sri Sairam. Welcome to today's English class. Today we are going to read and learn the poem Nine Gold Medals. So let's look at the slide. What if I say the most important muscle we are strengthening through running is our brain muscle? So it creates new brain cells and improve overall brain performance. All right, so which muscle are we strengthening through running? By running, are we strengthening the leg muscle? The hand muscle? No, it's the brain muscle. All right, so while running, what happens? It creates new brain cells, lot of positivity, and so naturally our brain performance improves and we are able to think even better. Let's move on. The next benefit is morning sun provides vitamin D, which is antidepressant, which means normally we are running only during day. So day means morning sunlight. That's the best for providing vitamin D. And vitamin D is an energy booster. It will also boost your mood a lot and it refreshes you. Prevents degeneration of the hippocampus, improves memory. So definitely when we strengthen the brain muscle, it improves our memory. Our chances of forgetting are lower than otherwise. And the next one is increases norepinephrine, which means it reduces stress. This is nothing but it just normalizes our hormonal levels. When our hormonal levels are stabilized, it reduces our tension, our anxiety, and we are in a better position to think and perform. Marshmallows experiment. 40 years of Stanford research found that people with this one quality are more likely to succeed. So let's look at what marshmallows experiment is. Okay, so suppose these are marshmallows. Instead of marshmallows, marshmallow is nothing but a kind of chocolate, a kind of something like a candy. So it's nothing but that. So if I were to give this child one marshmallow and tell him, you eat it immediately. But if you're willing to wait for the next 20 minutes, I'll give you the second marshmallow. All right. So what does the child do? He will think and think. He is not sure what is to be done. If he waits, he gets one more marshmallow. If he's not going to wait, he'll be able to have only one marshmallow. So when he waits, what happens? It increases his patience. It increases his focus and his concentration to be able to wait. So that's what happens. So that is marshmallows experiment, which means it helps you to wait, it builds your patience, it builds your focus and your concentration. And people with a better sense of patience, better energy levels, better focus levels are more likely to succeed in their lives. A zeal for perfection. I may not be there yet, but I am closer than yesterday. Gentlemen, we are going to relentlessly chase perfection, knowing well we will not catch it because nothing is perfect. But we are going to relentlessly chase it because in the process we will catch excellence. I am not even remotely interested in being just good. Okay, so let's take a look. What does it mean? See, this is actually told by the coach of a football team, and he said that we are going to chase perfection. So, when we are going to chase perfection, we are constantly working towards perfection. But perfection always it's not possible. So, at least when we are trying to be perfect, so we will definitely surpass even being good, even being more than best. So, what happens? So, we'll reach the state of excellence. And so that's why he's saying that we are going to relentlessly chase perfection. So when we chase perfection, we will at least reach the level of excellence, which is really indeed excellent. Okay, so above a starting note of the instructions given by the new coach of a football team that got the team so inspired. So this what he said, the new coach of the football team, that team got really motivated. So they were really working very hard, training very hard to at least reach excellence. So they were much more than the level of good. So they were definitely reached being excellent. Sports instills a zeal for perfection that in turn induces the never give up attitude. So what happens? So any sports you play, be it badminton, cricket, volleyball, football, whatever, you're constantly working hard for months and weeks, and you even sacrifice something for it, maybe your sleep, maybe some kind of diet habit, whatever. But you're determined that no, I have to do it and I have to give it my best. And what happens? So you develop the never give up attitude. That means you are not ready to give up. You're constantly chasing it. You're constantly chasing a level of excellence. An interesting analogy, there are two ways to hear a disc jockey. Disc jockey, the short form is DJ. So there are two ways to hear a disc jockey better. Minimize the static or boost the DJ's voice. Studies show that athletes have an enhanced ability to reduce background electrical noise in their brain to better process external sounds such as a teammate yelling a play or a coach calling them from the sidelines, etc. Other sets of people, like the musicians, also hear the DJ better, but they do it by turning up the volumes of the DJ in their heads, while athletes do it by reducing the static background noise. So, what does this actually mean? See, a disc jockey is one who plays recorded music for the audience. So, what can he do actually? This is a disc jockey and he is playing recorded music for the audience. So, he can alter the beats, maybe he can bring down the volume, he can raise it up, he can mix up the beats and mix up the music. So what happens usually when the DJ talks, if the volume is very high, you cannot listen. But if the volume is low, you can listen to what the DJ is telling also. So accordingly, these people, that is the sports people, what these, especially the runners, especially the athletes, what they do is they reduce the background noise in their minds so that they can hear the team, they can listen to their teammates calling to them or yelling at them, or maybe they can just listen to the coach by reducing the background noise. That is one ability that they develop as they train. And whereas musicians, when the music people hear the DJ playing, sometimes they want to reduce the noise in their head, sometimes they want to increase the noise in their heads. But for athletes, for them to be at their best, they have to reduce the noise in the background. So they train their minds and they train their brain so that they perform better at their sport. And that's what it is. End result is an alert and sharp brain. Some studies also say that involving in sports reduces possibility of Alzheimer's disease in old age. So they have researched, and in research studies they found that when you play any sport, it reduces Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a disease which is very common in old age. So when you play a sport continuously, the possibility of getting that disease is very less. Let's move on. Now we come to the poem. The poem is Nine Medals. So now let's read the poem. The athletes had come from all over the country to run for the gold, for the silver, and the bronze. Many weeks and months of training, all coming down to these games. So let's see what the poet means by the first stanza. So he's saying that the athletes had come from all over the country, means from different parts of the country, they've come here to the ground for playing, for running the race. So they had they had trained for months and weeks. They had done a lot of hard work and they had done a lot of training because they dreamt of winning some medal, maybe a gold, maybe a silver, maybe a bronze medal, but some medal. And so they all came down from their different parts of the country to this particular place to play the game. Okay. The spectators gathered around the old field to cheer on all the young women and men. The final event of the day was approaching. Excitement grew high to begin. So, here in the second stanza, who are the spectators? Spectators are just people who are watching the race. They are sitting around the field and watching the watching the race. They are spectators. So they had all collected around the field and they were cheering on all the young women and men. So they were actually trying to put the spirits up of the young women and men. So we see that it's all young participants when they say young women and men. The final event of the day was approaching. Excitement grew high to begin. So this was the final day of the event. It was a 100-yard running race. This was the final event of the day. And this is the main important event of the whole proceedings. So excitement, there was excitement among the runners, there was excitement among the spectators. So in this stanza, the poet is trying to make us imagine how that field would have been with the runners and this thing. Lots of excitement all over the field. And these are the runners waiting at the starting line. The blocks were all lined up for those who would use them. The 100-yard dash and the race to be run. These were 9 resolved athletes in back of the state starting line, poised for the sound of the gun. Okay, so let's just look at what they mean by this. The blocks were all lined up. So these are all the blocks and they were all lined up with the runners. Interesting, isn't it? So it is the 100-yard race and they were all 9 resolved athletes. Means they were all very determined. They had trained very hard and they had come here to participate in the race for at least winning some medal. And they were standing at the back of the starting line and they were waiting for the sound of the gun. So what does the sound of the gun mean? Means it is a signal for starting. When the gun sound comes, they all have to start the race. That is what it. So they're all waiting there for the sound of the gun to start. The signal was given, the pistol exploded, and so did the runners, all charging ahead. But the smallest among them, he stumbled and staggered and fell to the asphalt instead. So, this is a very important stanza. The signal was given, the pistol exploded, means they had already sounded the gun, the pistol exploded. So, the signal, that was a signal, and hearing that signal when the pistol exploded, all these runners started running. And what happened after they started running? In a few minutes from that time, the smallest among them, so the smallest athlete among them, he stumbled and staggered, which means he lost his balance and he fell to the line. All right, let's look what happened next. So, this is the smallest among them who fell. He gave out a cry in frustration and anguish. His dreams and his efforts all dashed in the dirt. But as sure as I'm standing here telling this story, the same goes for what next occurred. This is quite a sad part, but anyway, let's take a look. He gave out a cry. So, who gave out a cry? He is the smallest athlete who fell. He lost his balance and fell. So, when he fell, he cried in frustration and sadness. Why is that? Because he had trained for months and weeks together with the hope of winning a medal, right? So, he's really now he's lost his hope and he's very sad. That's why he gave out a cry. So, because his dreams, he had dreamt that he'll win a medal or something, and he had trained very hard, but all that gone now. So the poet says, I am standing here telling you the story of the smallest athlete, and let us see what next happened. The 8 other runners pulled up upon their heels, the ones who had trained for so long to compete. One by one, they all turned around and went back to help him and brought the young boy to his feet. So, what happened? So, once the smallest athlete cried out, all the other 8 runners they pulled up on their heels and they turned back, and when they saw, they found that he had fallen down. So, and these 8 runners also, just like the smallest athlete, they had also, the 8 runners had also trained very, very hard for this race for months and weeks. So they also were actually had dreams of winning some medal or something. But when they saw the smallest athlete who had fallen down, they all, one by one, they all looked back and they came back one by one to help him. And what did they do? They didn't leave him there. What did they do? They picked up the young boy and they put him up on his feet. So these are the 9 athletes there. Then all the 9 runners joined hands and continued the 100-yard dash, now reduced to a walk. And a banner above that said, Special Olympics, could not have been more on the mark. So what happened? So they put that young boy on his feet. And after that, what did they do? Did they just leave him there? No, they didn't do that. Let's see what they did. They all joined hands. So all the 9 of them joined their hands and they continued. But how did they continue? Did they run? No, they did not run because the smallest of them could not run. He was hurt. So they just held the hands and walked towards the finishing line. And the banner above, banner is nothing but a board. That board said Special Olympics, right? Special Olympics we will be discussing after the after the poem we will be discussing Special Olympics. But don't you think it's really special? It is really special because in today's generation, in today's times, do we really feel that all the 8 runners would have gone back, held hands and come towards the race? I don't think so. So it is really, indeed, it is special. Just imagine the joy which the smallest athlete must have felt when they all held hands and walked. Could not have been more on the mark. Why do they say could not have been more on the mark? Because it is truly special. It is truly special to see that compassion and empathy. Compassion, that is kindness for the smallest athlete, and empathy because they felt the pain of that small athlete as their own. So that is what empathy. Empathy is nothing but when you find somebody else's feeling as your own, maybe in sadness or in joy, whenever you feel. Maybe your friend is hurt, but you feel that pain as your own. That is only empathy. So that's what they showed the smallest athlete. That's how the race ended with 9 gold medals. They came to the finish line holding hands still, and a standing ovation and 9 beaming faces said more than these words ever will. So, this is a very, very interesting stanza with a lot of feeling, with a lot of emotion. So, let's just see what it is. That's how the race ended with 9 gold medals. They came to the finish line holding hands still. So that means the race ended. How did the race end? Nobody was running there. All of them together, all the 9 athletes were holding hands together and walking towards the finish line. And what happened? So it was like as though, not one gold medal, but all of them having a gold medal because it was an act of compassion, an act of empathy. In today's times, it really doesn't happen. And a standing ovation. So, who gave the ovation? Ovation is nothing but a standing applause, a standing and clapping for them, cheering for them. So, the spectators, the people who were watching, they were all standing at the stands and they were clapping their hands. They were clapping their hands because they were so surprised and they felt so much of joy because for one person, all the 8 of them had given up their dreams, right? And 9 beaming faces. So, with 9 faces, how were the 9 faces? They were all full of joy. They were all shining because they had done something for humanitarian cause. And their faces and that standing and clapping said more than these words ever will. So, whatever our words say, that is not enough. When you see that standing applause, when the people who were standing and clapping, and the 9 faces with a lot of glow on their faces, that these words will never be able to describe. So that was the poem. So this is such an interesting poem about compassion, about empathy, about selflessness. It's mainly because of selflessness, because see, all the 8 others gave up their dreams and they helped him. So that's why it's about selflessness. Now let's move on to what is Special Olympics. Did you know Special Olympics is an international organization created to help people with intellectual disabilities develop self confidence, social skills, and a sense of personal accomplishment. Among their other activities, Special Olympics conducts the Special Olympics World Games every 2 years, alternating between summer and winter games. Special Olympics offers children and adults with intellectual disabilities year round training and competition in 30 Olympic type summer and winter sports. Special Olympics International was founded by Mrs. Eunice Shriver, sister of late President John F. Kennedy of USA. Special Olympics Bharat, the national program based in Delhi, is accredited by the Special Olympics International. Okay, so here in this paragraph, we are going to just discuss what is Special Olympics. It is an international organization. It is created to help people with intellectual disabilities. What is intellectual disabilities? See, these people are actually really intellectual disabilities means these people have some special uh, disability, which means their thinking skills might be less, or they cannot understand a new concept immediately. So, some kind of, and also many more like that. So, those are intellectual disabilities. So what is the Special Olympics does? This organization helps these kind of people with disabilities to develop self-confidence, social skills, and also a sense of personal accomplishment. So it makes them feel much more confident by helping them. And also among their other activities, the Special Olympics, they conduct Special Olympic World Games, summer and winter games, alternating. So 1 year may be summer games, 1 year may be winter games. And also they offer children and adults with these kind of disabilities year-round training. So around the year, around for 12 months of the year, they are giving training to such intellectual disabled people, children as well as adults, not only in one type of sports but in 30 types of winter and summer sports, which is indeed excellent, isn't it? Okay, and it was founded by, we can see, Mrs. Eunice Shriver. Fine. And we have also in New Delhi, in Delhi also we have a Special Olympics Bharat. So it is based on the same Special Olympics organization, and our Special Olympics Bharat, it is also recognized by all this Special Olympics International. So now alliteration. Let's take a look at what is an alliteration. But the smallest among them, he stumbled and staggered. I repeat, but the smallest among them, he stumbled and staggered. In a line in stanza 4. So, when you go back to stanza 4, you can see this line. But the smallest among them, he stumbled and staggered. The consonant sound S has been repeated in order to bring about a musical effect. So let's see. He smallest and stumbled and staggered. So when we keep saying all that, it is only the consonant S and it is giving a musical effect. That is an alliteration. This repetition of the same sound is called alliteration. So it, because we are repeating the consonant S, 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 it becomes an alliteration. Here the sound S has been repeated. Find another such line from stanza 5. So this is an activity for you, dear students. From the stanza 5, you will find out a line in which it is there. I will definitely give you a clue, and that clue is the consonant D. So now you will be able to find it. But It is an activity, so it's very interesting. You must do it. Another example of alliteration is given below. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping. I repeat, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping. Alright, so which is the alliteration? Can you make out? Yes, it is nodded, nearly napping, because it is the consonant consonant N has been repeated and it gives a musical effect. Nodded, nearly napping. So that is the alliteration over here. But you must do your activity from stanza 5. Okay, crab in the bucket syndrome. This is a very interesting concept. We also have a picture for it. Yes. See, look at the picture and now we will give you the details. Most people have the attitude of, if I can't achieve, neither can you. This is called the crab in the bucket syndrome. The best way to tackle this is to be giving and encouraging the passion of others around us such that they automatically become supportive to our passion. Being giving is the key. Alright, so I'll quickly explain to you what is crab in the bucket syndrome. See, when we put one crab in a bucket, that crab can easily crawl out. It can easily come out of the bucket. But suppose, let me give you an example. If I'm putting 5 or 6 crabs inside the bucket, so if one crab is trying to come out of the bucket, what happens? The other 5 crabs will gang up and they will not let that crab go out of the bucket. What does that mean? They have that attitude that if I am not going out, even you will not go out. That is what it is meant by, if I can't achieve, neither can you. So the crabs mean to say, if I can't go out, even you all cannot go out. So they will just stay in the bucket together, but they will not let the others go out. So that's what. So that is not what we should practice. Crab in the bucket syndrome is not what we should practice, because we will be discouraging others, right? So instead of that, we should practice the opposite, which means we must encourage others. See, when we encourage others, they will also start encouraging us. But not just that, but don't you think it's a spirit of sportsmanship? And also, coming back to the poem, in the poem, those 9 athletes, none of them practiced this crab on the bucket syndrome. In fact, they encouraged each other, they held hands and they came to the finish line. Isn't that an excellent way of compassion towards each other? So that's what it means. We should be giving and encouraging the passion. So we must encourage the others in whatever they are interested. It could be sports, it could be some music or anything, right? So we should be encouraging them and not just pulling them back and holding them. We should not think, oh, if I can't do it, you can't do it. That's not the mentality we should have. So when we give, so what if those athletes give to the smallest one? A lot of compassion, a lot of joy by helping him, a lot of support. So we should be giving others support. That is why we say being giving is the key. All right. So now we have some examples of true sportsmanship for you, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy your favorite cricketers also. Okay, so let's just take a look at it. Exemplary exhibit of true sportsmanship. So this is just nothing but an excellent example of true sportsmanship. So this is Virat Kohli and there we have MS Dhoni. Alright, so let's just see what they did. Fine, because they are true examples of sportsmanship. Virat Kohli helped England captain Joe Root when he suffered a cramp in one of the matches. Despite the damage Root did to India during the match by scoring a century, Captain Kohli didn't allow cramp to damage his opposite captain. So what did Virat Kohli do? Some match between India and England was going on, and England captain Joe Root, he suffered from a muscle cramp in one of the matches. And actually, what happened was Root had scored a century already in that match, and so India will definitely find it difficult to win, is it not? But in spite of that, In spite of that, Captain Kohli did not think twice. He went and helped the captain Joe Root and helped him recover from the cramp and helped him to play the match. Isn't that excellent? And then same thing was repeated by MS Dhoni when he helped Faf du Plessis. Faf du Plessis is another cricket player from another team, opposition cricket team. So when he had a cramp, that is when Du Plessis had a cramp and he needed help to stretch. So that was the time when MS Dhoni, even without thinking twice, he went and helped Faf du Plessis to stretch out. He helped him out with his cramp till the physio. Physio here we mean physiotherapist. Those are the people who help these players to recover and stretch. So even before he could come, MS Dhoni had already helped him, had already helped Faf du Plessis without thinking twice that he is from the opposition team. So it is an excellent example of selflessness. They were not selfish at all for their teams or for themselves. They didn't think at all about all this. They just thought, okay, I need to help, and they did it selflessly. So that is a very important value which we should also practice in our life. And here we have another example of true sportsmanship from women's kabaddi. Alright, so let's read. During the India versus Iran women's kabaddi event final at the 2014, one of the Iranian raiders accidentally had her hijab displaced while a raid was on. She immediately froze because of the discomfort and could have easily been trapped by the defenders then. Instead, the Indians chose to stop the match, help her cover her face, and put the hijab back in its place, and then continued the match. So, what does it mean? See, these Iranian women's team, they are very, Iran country has a lot of strict rules. So, where all the women should have that hijab. Hijab is a cloth which covers the women's face in Iranian countries. So, even when they play matches, also they have to cover their faces and play. That's why it's called a hijab. So, during the match being played between India and Iranian women, what happened? Suddenly, during the match, the hijab went out of place for the Iranian ladies, and they are not used to playing without the hijab. So, naturally, that hijab, the Iranian player felt a little uncomfortable, right? So, what the Indians could have done, they could have taken advantage and gone and trapped her, but they did not do that. What did they do? They stopped the match. The Indian players stopped the match. They covered the hijab in the place, in on that lady's face. They covered it nicely, and then they started the match. So that is really excellent, because in today's times all this is very rare. You don't get to see this very often. So it was total act of selflessness. The next one is also a true example of sportsmanship, a selfless act in sports. It is in which sports is it? Let's see. It is also in one of the sports, right? So Yogeshwar Dutt had won the bronze medal at the 2012 London Olympics, but the silver medalist Basic Kudukov had later been proven to be guilty of doping charges. This meant Yogeshwar's medal would be upgraded to silver, but he refused to take the silver medal, saying that it is sad that his drug test was positive after his death in a car accident. As a sportsman, I have great respect for him. The medal should remain with his family if possible. It will keep his family's honor intact. For me, humanity is above everything. So, Yogeshwar Dutt, he is from India, he is Yogeshwar Dutt, and he had won the bronze medal at the 2012 London Olympics. So, what happened? There was a silver medalist by the name of Basic Kuduko. But after he had won the medal and everything, later they found that he was taking drugs. So, because of that, the Olympic Committee decided that they will take away the silver medal and give it to Yogeshwar Dutt. But what did Yogeshwar Dutt do? Did he take the medal? No, he didn't. He thought that he did a very noble act of selflessness. What did he do? He said that I will not accept this silver medal because this it's this man Basic Khodukov had already passed away. He had already died in a car accident. So after that, they said that you take the silver medal. So he thought that if that silver medal is taken away from that family, how will they feel? They'll feel totally dishonored, right? They'll feel very hurt and dishonored, right? It's a disgrace for them. So he thought about the family, and he thought about how they would have felt, and he said, no, I will not take the silver medal, and it's not right. You please let it remain with the family. And for him, more than the medal, what did he feel? He felt that humanity is much more than just winning a medal. So these great sportsmen felt that mainly it is not just winning, it is participating and in following the values of life. So that's what it needs to be done. So that is what these all these sports person have shown, be it Virat Kohli, Yogeshwar Dutt, or the Indian team, the Kabaddi team. They all have been very selfless, and that's what they have done. And similarly, see in the poem Nine Medals also, it's all about compassion, it's all about empathy, it's all about brotherhood and selflessness. How those 8 athletes were ready to give up their dreams or in spite of having worked so hard and training and everything, yet they all joined hands with that smallest athlete and walked to the finishing line because of their compassion and empathy for him. So please read, please learn, keep smiling, keep learning. Thank you. Sai.